Hello and welcome to the Northern Berkshire Adult Education Program information session. I'd like to welcome three of my colleagues who are joining me today. I'm Bob Boquette. I'm the director of the Northern Berkshire Adult Education Program. And joining me today are Linda Neville. Linda is a language arts instructor, digital literacy co-coordinator, and part of the leadership team. And Corrine Case is a teacher in the program, teaches employability skills with a healthcare social service focus. And she's also part of the leadership team. And also with her is Tim Case, her husband. Tim is a math teacher and guest speaker in the health science class. He's been teaching with us for a while, teaches math for the ASE, PASE level and Bridge to College. And we're here today to talk a little bit about what the Northern Berkshire Adult Ed program has to offer to the community and how we've kind of worked in the last semester from last March up to December of this year in dealing with the pandemic and some of the changes that have taken place, but to really provide some background information. I'm sure as many of you know, we, much like the K through 12 schools, transitioned to a totally remote model of learning in March of last March and went through to really October. Most recently, when we transitioned to some hybrid instructions, very limited hybrid instruction for some of our classes. So it was a period of adjustment for everyone in the program, as well as those members of the community who have children who have also transitioned to remote learning. And during that time, we've worked really hard to create what was a totally face-to-face program to be delivered in a remote fashion. So it required us to readjust the way that we teach, the way that we interact with the community, and how we provide the services that we've provided for the members of the community. In the spring, we're going to still be hybrid and remote. So we have those two options. And when I talk about hybrid learning, what that means is there's an opportunity for students to attend a face-to-face class for some of our classes. Not all of our classes are a hybrid model as yet. Our language arts classes during the day are a hybrid model. So we have students that do come to our new location on the campus of Drury High School. We moved in February, on February to new space at Drury High School. We started a move discussion, and as the pandemic hit, we were delayed a little bit, but we're now set up on the campus at Drury High School. And students come to class there for about an hour to an hour and a half, and work with the teacher and students in a remote environment. So there are students that join us via Zoom for a class, and they come in that way and work with the teacher and the other students in the face-to-face setting. And then we have a majority of our classes are offered totally remotely, and that's schedules and space accommodations that we have given the pandemic and the restrictions on being able to offer a lot of face-to-face instruction. So we've really worked hard to bring our program to the community in a new way. And we realize that there are challenges. And I think one of the important things is that you understand is we are willing to work with any member of the community to the best of our ability to provide access to the education that you're seeking. So it is possible to do the remote learning and possible to come in for a face-to-face meeting or a class once we're able to do that again. Right now, our office is closed until January 19th, but we are offering services remotely, and we'll share the way to access those later on in the program. So that being said, what I'd like to talk a little bit now, I'd like to offer Kareem, Tim, and Linda the opportunity to talk a little bit about their classes and how they're structured, so that you get a feel for what you can expect being in one of our classes. Linda?
So, thank you, Bob. As Bob said, we've been um, doing all sorts of different things since the March shutdown. Um, we really just jumped into Zoom, grateful for Zoom. And Zoom, if you haven't used it yet, it's been a wonderful way to reach out and to students who had computers, and they can even come in by cell phone and see us and talk with us. But Zoom also offers like a chat room, and we'll give you a little example of how it's used for classroom remote learning. We also, a few years before, had started a Canvas site, which is basically a teacher site. There's a variety of teacher sites that are online. Some classrooms use Google Classroom. We had already put up a Canvas site for members of our student community that were, say, parents who couldn't always come to class because of snow days and things like that. So we liked Canvas right from the beginning because we could post our lessons that we were doing in a face-to-face classroom, and they were not falling behind because they could get the lessons and catch up, so to speak. So with Zoom and Canvas, we've been working through the pandemic protocols, and we add books that go with the Canvas assignments, and um, and so whether it's a hybrid, as Bob talked about, or remote, students can work in their own books, and there are books for the different classes. As Bob said, I'm language arts, so I do reading, writing, social studies, and science, and math is Tim's subject. But there are books for all of them. So anybody who really wants a book in front of them and they can continue to do the workbooks at their own pace are free to do that. Even if you don't have a computer, or or the internet goes down or things like that. So there's really no excuse why you cannot continue with um, your exercises. And there's always the telephone. I tell my students there's always the telephone, so we can stay in touch in some way. And the idea is this has really made students um, become empowered in their own future, and that's our motto: own your future. And it's true, because it's what effort you put into it. We are here as facilitators, really, to open up different things you may not have learned in the past, or review certain things. Our program also is not just talking academics. We partner with community members who are helping to help you get an employment skill. And so that's what I really like about this program. We also have advisors that are key, because our learners are a unique group. They're adults that have lives outside of school, and for me, that's an important piece of it. So if something comes up and you can't always attend a class, you let us know. You're not, um, you're expected to attend. Let me say that. But you can catch up when the time becomes available to you because of the Canvas site itself. Um, we also, and I must talk about this, we've also partnered with the Northern Berkshire Community Television Corporation, and they have filmed, I believe it's up to 14 shows for us, and that was geared to meet those in the community who had no technology, but they did have a Spectrum cable account, because every Wednesday at 3 o'clock on channel 1302, we give a lesson. And it started off as a 30-minute lesson. We've learned a lot. They say they've enjoyed working with us. It's a great thing when we can join with a community partner, because we bring what we can and they bring their knowledge and skill, and it benefits students in the community. So so again, that's on Wednesday afternoons at 3 o'clock, and they also then show it twice more in the week, um, and they actually put it on YouTube. So if you want to see any of those lessons, it's on YouTube now, under the Northern Berkshire Adult Education link. Um, I'd like to put in a little bit about what I've learned this year as a teacher. If you know, you continue to learn and you truly learn from your students. And many of our students are very technically literate, as far as how to do certain things that I had never done before. So I'm learning to do many more things. But the main thing I've learned is to have a sense of humor about everything that happens every day. And one of the best things I ever heard, I've gone to a lot of workshops through the summer, and even now, state of the ACLS, which is the Adult Community Learning Services from the Department of Ed, have been absolutely wonderful to our program and educators in the adult learning community. They have offered so much training that has brought us up to speed about remote learning. And the head of the adult learning community in the state, Yvonne, I think is her name. She had a quote that really kept me going, and she said, "Perfection was not necessary. Just stay in it and get to the end." And that's kind of how we have to approach these things, and laugh and say, okay, I'm sorry if I'm zooming and something goes wrong. And usually a student will say, click this, click that. I can't see what you're trying to show me. And so you just, you understand, we're all, teacher and student now are working together and as never before, and we are all benefiting from it. So that's the part that I've really learned about this, and to have a sense of humor and just be persistent, and we'll get to the end together. And so that's been a wonderful thing that I've learned this year.
Thank you, Linda. Creed, Tim, would you like to add anything?
Boy, it's hard to follow Linda. My classes right now are actually very varied. I'm using the HiSET textbook, which basically is preparing the student for the HiSET test to get their GED. I am Zooming and meeting regularly with one student, and like Linda was saying, we're going through anything to get through it. She was a jungle gym for her 2-year-old while we're trying to learn math. So, we've become very adaptive of what we're able to accomplish. I have another student I've seen very infrequently, but she says she's gone through the workbook that goes along with this and is looking for more work. So you can go at your own pace. I tell the students I'm always here, phone calls, texts, emails, whatever. just to get through and accomplish their goals.
As Linda said, I'm also an adult learner, and I've learned a lot about how frustrating it can be for a student to use the technology, because I'm not real patient with myself when it comes to the technology. But again, it's creative to contact people by telephone, by Zoom, within Canvas, by messaging, so we can keep connected. And I think that people don't like to bother a teacher and take advantage of the experience. But I would encourage students to really ask for what they need to reach their own futures. I'm pleased to offer the pre-employment class, which has a focus on healthcare careers. And we do a lot of work around the Mass Health PCA and the home health aide, and then broaden to all kinds of other opportunities within healthcare services for full-time careers, not just a job, but a life work. And it's very exciting because the need is huge. I try to keep the class like a business and prepare people for what's demanded on the job, whether it be for an agency or with just one consumer who a PCA might work with. And we travel through about 10 or 12 modules, things like communication, ethics. Um, we talk about fraud. We talk about issues of justice and fairness, um, confidentiality, uh, safe lifting of a client or a patient or mass health consumer, and all
Infectious
of
diseases.
infectious diseases, when the biological expert here will bring in a presentation. And boy, has that been, that's where we left off in March, right before we had the pandemic. And so a lot of it is on the job classroom training. There's not a clinical piece, but we do help and advise people to step into their next um, way of learning as a continuing adult ed learner, to go into programs like LPN. Um, McCann has a number of things, medical assistant, CNA. And if their goal is just to work, we can help them to find the resources, and it's a real nice, fits everyone kind of class. If anyone has an interest in healthcare or the health field, this is a great beginning to explore. Thanks.
Thank you, Corinne. Thanks, Tim. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, I think, as I listened to the three of you speak, that is one of the unique things, I think, with the adult education program, is we aren't the traditional learning environment. There is some traditional teaching and some traditional instruction, but it's not the traditional classroom lecture style that students are maybe familiar with from their past experience. It's more or less a community of learners who are all on the same journey and working at their own pace. So they are working at their pace in order to achieve their goal. And we don't only focus on preparing students for the test. The skills that they're learning, yes, prepare them for the test, but at the same time, prepare them for life outside of getting that credential, being able to go into the working world. If so many of our students are already employed and have jobs, but it's not their career that they're looking for. And we have students that they get a job, and that is where they continue to stay, and that's all well and good. But it's providing that extra level of interaction with the teachers, and as you mentioned, Corinne, encouraging students to contact teachers. I think when I think back on my own experience going through school, it was, you couldn't access the teacher outside of class.
Right.
They weren't available. And in our program, the teachers are available to be contacted. They're happy to work with students in ways that you may not be familiar with, by text message, as Tim mentioned, or email, or providing a phone contact occasionally when you need that. So it really engages the students. And I tend to tell students that this is an environment where you have to be an active learner in the program. You have to take an active role in learning, because if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere. Because it's not just providing you the knowledge to take the test. That's the knowledge is there. You can pick that up reading the book maybe and get that done, but it doesn't necessarily prepare you to move forward with that credential. The test, as the three of you know, is not just rote learning knowledge. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes into preparing a student to take the test, and we work very hard to provide that level of preparation as well. And one of the things that I think we're really good at is in differentiating the instruction. In other words, taking the content and being able to, as you mentioned, Tim, break that down for each individual student, and to the best of our ability, provide that student with the level of knowledge they need, but at a level that they're able to understand it, to comprehend that knowledge and move on to the next level in learning. So I think that's a nice thing that the adult education community is really good at across the state. Linda mentioned the Department of Education has provided us with lots of resources and opportunities to really, given the pandemic, explore how we can do what we do in new and interesting ways. And the staff has done a great job in figuring that out. And as you've all mentioned, it's a learning curve for all of us to figure out how we do that. In some ways, it is to have that sense of humor, to know when you're trying to do a Zoom lesson and you did it yesterday, but you can't remember how to do it today. So you have to think about that. And, as Linda mentioned, sometimes there's a student in class that goes, remember you clicked this yesterday. Thank you.
Yeah.
It creates that online community. And I think, that's something that we're really working hard to do, is to create the virtual community for our students, because we can't be face to face with our fellow students, even with our colleagues. So that's been a bit of a different challenge. So lots of things that have happened in the last year. We've made it. The program has successfully made it through the fall semester, and we're looking forward to starting again in January. Our remote learning classes are scheduled to start on Monday, January the 4th. So students who are currently engaged in class will be hearing from their teachers after the Christmas holiday and after the new year about engaging in classes again. We'll be reaching out to students to let them know that. We're taking enrollments for the spring semester. Those could be scheduled to be done remotely, so they're done by Zoom or by phone. And lots of ways to access that. The contact information will be shared at the end of the presentation today. But you can go to mcla.edu/ABE, which is the program's website. And on that site, there's a schedule an appointment button. You can click on that to schedule an appointment, and someone will contact you from the program, or the office phone number and email addresses will be shared at the end of the presentation. Sorry. And you'll be able to do that. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today is a new program that we're going to be unveiling in January. As Linda had mentioned, we've done a lot of professional development over the summer and over the past several months. And one of the things that we were able to participate in is a program on digital literacy instruction. So providing computer basic skills and some advanced skills in using computer applications for students who are currently in the workforce and need to brush up on those skills, want to improve their computer usage skills for employment, for education, for training opportunities. And we, through participating in a program, it was made available to us the North Star Digital Literacy Program, which is out of Minnesota, I believe. And it's a computer curriculum. It covers 6 modules, a total of 57 lessons that students can do remotely. So the instruction will be provided using Zoom and Canvas, which Linda mentioned as our learning management system. And you work through completing those modules. And at the end, we've been approved as a North Star Digital Literacy Test Center. So there's a certificate of completion that's available for any one of the lessons, the modules, or the entire curriculum. So students work through the modules and the lessons at their own pace, much as we've mentioned. And at the completion of that, they're eligible, if they choose, to sit for a proctored exam. So the exam is proctored by a member of the staff from the program. And if they achieve an appropriate score, they're then awarded a certificate of mastery in that area. So like 3 of the things that are covered are Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, the 3 most popular Microsoft products that are used in the work world and the educational world. So a student could say, I want to learn Microsoft Excel. They could take the Excel module, finish all of the lessons, take the test, pass that, get the certificate, and be able to show that to a potential employer that they have competency in that particular product, or in the general curriculum of the digital literacy skills, which goes from basic skills, and I mean literally, you don't know how to turn on a computer, there's a lesson that teaches you how to turn on the computer. And it works through the different components of the computer. It then moves on to internet safety. So understanding what a phishing scam is, how to make sure you're well protected when you're using the internet. There's a career exploration piece. So using the computer and the internet for career exploration and job opportunities, which is something that's the way we find work now. It's not like the old days of looking in the Eagle or the local newspaper, or having that connection. So it's those skills that are available as well. And the way we've structured it, it's going to be offered, one through Linda's college and career writing class, which will incorporate the digital literacy skills, as well as the writing for post-secondary education, training, and work. The modules are also available to other instructors. So you may find that there's a certain product that a teacher is using, and they're going to reference that. So you're able to use the North Star Digital Literacy in a particular class. So you might be doing a section. So we're going to try to integrate that into the program, but offer it as a standalone kind of option for individuals who are interested in improving their digital literacy skills. And the enrollment into that class is the same for all of our classes. Individuals must be at least 16 years of age. If you're under 18, you must be officially withdrawn from high school. So you would have to provide a letter of withdrawal from the local high school in order to access our services. And then you enroll in the program. you would participate in that. There are some required assessment tests that are done, a pre and a post test that are done as part of the enrollment process, and as part of being a member of a student in our program. So there are some requirements that you go through. Those are all the testing can be done remotely. So you don't actually have to physically come to the site in order to do your testing. We set that up. So I think really to engage in the digital literacy piece, there are some steps that we're still working out. There'll be an orientation program that will start in the spring for that and for the program. Right now, we're looking at orientation taking about a week from enrollment orientation to physically starting your first class. And that's to kind of help you through the digital literacy piece, because as you may have gathered from the conversations that have been going on today, we're doing everything remotely right now. So digital literacy at the basic level is kind of a requirement for really getting into the program and being able to navigate it. So we give you those basic navigational skills. And now we have the opportunity to give you the academic skills using those digital literacy tools in order to move forward. So it's a new initiative. We just got access to it a couple of months ago. So we're still kicking the tires and learning how to do that. And that's something we're really looking forward to rolling out in January. In addition to that, as we mentioned earlier, we do work with a lot of our community partners, and we're exploring a collaboration with Goodwill Industries of the Berkshires. Goodwill provides certificate programs, nationally recognized certificates in customer service and custodial training. And due to the pandemic situation, they're doing their programs remotely. And we've partnered with them over the last several years for different opportunities. And the pandemic and the digital literacy piece really gave us an opportunity to expand our offerings to their clientele as well. So hopefully there'll be some more information coming out about that in January, and how you can access those programs and what that will look like. Anything else? And that's the newest program for the spring. As I mentioned, we are totally remote right now. Our classes for the fall have wrapped up. We'll be starting on January 4th. We will be remote until January 19th, that Tuesday, when we'll be returning back to the office at Drury and be able to meet with students in the hybrid model, so the face-to-face students. But in the meantime, we encourage you to reach out to the program if you have questions, if you're interested in getting more information about the program to enroll. And we look forward to being able to serve you in the future.
Bob, I would also add too, with all of the programs, each year we finish like a term and we reflect on what we can do and what our student coming in the door is, or coming on our screen, I should say. But in truth, we are adult education programs in the past used to be centered on a high school certification, and we still do that. But I think in the current situation, some people who have had a job for all their life are now going to have new skills. And this North Star digital learning is really going to help get a new, possibly a new job, even from home, I would suggest. Some of us use computers, some of us use cell phones, but to use a computer in the business world for employment, sending a fax, changing the font for someone who can't see the screen and things like that. There are so many things that PowerPoint, Excel, all of those Microsoft Office tools can do, that this North Star digital literacy curriculum can teach anyone that wants to start a new career, is going to be, I think, very helpful for the person out there who does have their high school diploma, but needs to find a new position in a new field. And I think it will really, really help. One of the parts of this digital learning is like really finding out which sites are reputable sites too. And that helps us politically, even, what with all the fake news or whatever you want to call it, going forward into 2021, we've got to find a way to empower each and every one of us to know what is real and what isn't real, and what path to follow. So the more we can learn about the way we get our information. Not everyone watches television. Most of the information comes over the net, and is it accurate and things like that. So these are key to each person's learning that was never as important as it is now. That's my thought.
Thank you, Linda.
So and so what I'm suggesting is our students are broader now. So if you feel you need to know something about these digital skills, we do have that opportunity now.
Yeah, and I thank you, Linda, because one of the things that I forgot to mention when I was talking about the enrollment process is we are able to serve individuals who already have a high school credential in the program. There's certain things, certain criteria that have to be met, but I haven't run into anybody who's not been able to meet those criteria in some way. So we are able to do that. So it is the person who's looking to improve their, maybe look for that career. They've got a job, but they want to move on, or they want to advance in their job. We have had students, given the situation that we're all currently in, who have come to the program needing to maybe get their high school credential because they didn't. And in order to stay employed, they need to accept a promotion, but need that piece of paper in order to do that. So we've been able to do that, or improve their math skills in order to go for a certification in their chosen field. So there are a lot of opportunities for us to meet that need. And then as we're working with individuals, we do work not only with Goodwill, we work with Mass Hire, the local career center, in accessing the services that they provide. And they do provide funding for training programs. There are vending programs that are vendors for their services, and they will provide the funding for individuals to attend those trainings. So we do work with their agency to access those funds and to help you through the enrollment process for that service. Because every time you look to do something, there is a procedure to go through. And sometimes that can be very overwhelming. So there are supports to help you make that connection and navigate the process of accessing services with support organizations that we work with to enable you to move forward in your chosen field. So it's Mass Hire, Goodwill, Mass Rehab Commission. We work very closely with Mass Rehab, Department of Transitional Assistance. So some of the key agencies that we have connections with to help students access the supports so that you're able to do that. And I think, as Tim mentioned, one of the students was being used as a jungle gym during the lesson, that we understand. I always tell students, we acknowledge life happens here in our program, even pre-COVID. We always acknowledge that life does happen. So when life happens, just let us know what's happening and we work around that. So, there may be a different time that we connect to work with students, but, so I think that's the nice thing, is that we have that flexibility, and that for me as the director, the staff that I have are willing to be that flexible in meeting students outside of the traditional classroom hour to be able to accomplish what they're doing. So that's been a good thing. So I'd like to thank you, for participating today, and hope this information sharing was helpful. And we look forward to working with you.